Well, it's finally power ranking time. I hope everybody's happy. It took us a little while to get through everything last time. I think I really talked some sense into Bill. I don't think he's going to do anything else crazy. Oh, we traded his 24 first for a rookie receiver. Sometimes you just can't reach people. But we're going to get to power rankings tonight. So it's Vikings, Eagles, and Browns kicking you off here. Looking forward to the conversation tonight. RJ, how's life?
Not too bad. Still looking to buy a wide receiver. So it's not life isn't perfect, but it's all right.
Well, camp hype rookie ones are worth the first, so I can only imagine what you're having to pay out there. So best of luck to you. Browns, glad to have you back here. It's been a while. How's your summer been?
It's going all right. Actually have COVID right now, but other than that, been doing okay.
I'm sorry to hear that. Had my run out a couple of months ago, and not fun at all. But glad you're in good spirits, and hopefully speedy recovery.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Feeling good. So knock on wood. I hope I don't die at the when I go to bed tonight. But other than that, I'm feeling great. So
Definitely one of those. Besides the that, how did you enjoy the play, Mrs. Lincoln type situations. Um, Anyways, so yeah, jumping into it, we'll do the first couple of power ranks, kind of dive into some of the teams who are in the maybe next year category. Um, we'll have a couple of other teams cycle through as we go through the pod tonight, share some of their thoughts on things. Um, but I think, as far as I'm concerned, I'm just going to revisit some of the post draft power ranks we did and see, hey, has anyone really moved themselves up to the next tier or down to the next tier? And if not, what do they got to do and what do they got to hope for? So, should be a good conversation. We'll see if we can get through 8 teams, somewhere in that range. Keep it a little over an hour, and then give ourselves some time to hopefully make some post pod trades. I know we've really been slacking the last couple of weeks, but I have a good feeling about tonight. Something just in the air. Maybe it's hope. Maybe it's something else. Who knows?
Yeah,
Um,
not for a lack of effort. We have tried to get trades done. Well, you guys have tried to get trades done. I've done everything in my power to not accept any of them.
I was gonna say we've been offering like crazy, and just hasn't been getting accepted. So I don't know what to do about that. But what can you do? Anyways, so we'll go ahead and start talking about some of these bottom tier teams. Um, so I'm looking back at this. Browns, I don't think you had done a power rank for the post draft. Did you do one for preseason?
I have not done one for either. So I'm sort of
Okay,
just I'm riding on your coattails essentially.
that's a very dangerous place to be. Um, so we'll go ahead and freeze panes. Row. I can actually see it. All right. So going back to the post um, draft power ranks, we had between RJ and I, we both had the Steelers in the bottom rank. We had the Texans. Both had the Jags. Both had the Chiefs. Both had the Lions. Both had the Saints. And both had the Seahawks. And I think, based off of recent events, we both have the Broncos down there. So why don't we go ahead and start with those? Texans, Steelers, Jags, Chiefs, Lions, Saints, Seahawks, Broncos. We'll start with those as our teams here. That'll give us a nice combination of about 8 teams to talk about, and we'll pick it up from there.
Did you say Chiefs?
Yes, who have traded themselves out of that group. So,
Yeah,
um,
I just swapped them in Broncos with mine.
okay, we'll take Chiefs out then. We'll get them next time. So 7. Anyways, why don't we go ahead and start with the Steelers then? They've been involved in quite a few progressive trades, I'd say, kind of moving themselves forward, getting good value since the draft. Let me pull up what those explicit transactions were, but I seem to recall them having a good couple of rounds here in the last couple of weeks here. So um, since the draft, they've actually only done one trade, giving up Noah Brown and a future third for Greg Gaines, who could have a real potential to make some noise in LA with others leaving town. But Noah Brown looks like he's getting some good run with the Cowboys. So bit of a risk reward there. What do you think in terms of the trade, RJ?
So I wasn't a big fan of this trade from Steelers position. I don't know if I'd really be trying to bring on a $12 million defensive tackle. But that said, I like if there's one that you're going to go out and get, it's probably going to be somebody like Greg Gaines. He is a starter in LA. He's starting nose tackle. I don't think anybody's challenging him for that position. He's relatively young. What is he? 26, 27, 26. So, yeah, like if he puts up a decent season, I mean, he's not gonna be a Pro Bowler because there's somebody else on that line that's gonna put up more. Like, just it's not even a debate. So he's a good renegotiation target. I'm fearful of like the 3 years having to go up to 5. Then it would tick down to 4 years at 27 years old. But hey, $6 million, decent defensive tackle. I don't know if a third is the value, but I have a feeling more of that value was associated with the fact that you have such long control over his contract.
Yep. Brown, do you have any opinion on this one, or is it kind of meh?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really get the whole buying a $12 million defensive tackle when you're rebuilding. I get that you have control over him for a longer period of time, but how many buyers are there of a $12 million defensive tackle who's probably middle of the road? Doesn't really appeal to me generally. I think he's done a lot of nice things with his team. There's a lot of nice players on his team that I think he did a good job with. Traylon Burks, good ad. Khalil Shakir, who I really, really liked, was able to pick up in the mid-third. I think he did a good job there. I think overall he's done a good job with the team. I just don't – that trade to me is not something I would do, but, to each their own. So.
Yeah, again, it's one of those where I only look at it thinking, and we're talking about him in maybe next year tier. Is there a thought? And I'm going to hold my breath as I say this one. Jamison Mack at quarterback. If James Cook gets decent run with Boston Scott getting touches in Philly, that receiving core, and a tight end by committee, is this the making of a wild card team? Again, it's kind of hold your nose, look at quarterback, wide receiver, and maybe running back position, and then some of the stars he has on defense. Is he starting to flirt with a wild card and think, okay, let's say low risk, high reward player I can get at a position of need? I agree. I don't think I'd pay that for many D tackles, but I'm almost wondering if he's dipping his toe in the let's see how the first 4 weeks go little band here. I don't know. Am I crazy? I'm crazy, aren't I?
For this,
I mean, if you expect the whole division to make the playoffs, then sure.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. He's got to catch the other ones, but
it's a good team, just not a good team to be put in the AFC North.
Yeah, and again, it's looking at every other division too. It's the South is probably going to just have one team. The West, I can see having just one team. Then it's a matter of North versus East. Miami's looking solid. Pats look like they're rebuilding, and Jets also look like they're in that rebuilding phase as well. So realistically, he may have one or two teams that he's competing against for that third wild card spot.
Yep. We just I don't know if he has a team good enough to steal a win from Browns or Ravens, but like if you're trying to win, like that's what you're angling for. I think Bengals is probably just the division winner right now. Yeah, I probably wouldn't do it, but I'm also in a division where it's almost as is awful. So I have no room to talk.
Fair enough. And while we've been talking, we've had Broncos join us. Bill, welcome.
Hello. We just
We're
going
talking about the Steelers trade, or most recent one that's actually relevant post draft, getting Greg Gaines for Noah Brown in a third. As the team that was sending him Gaines for Noah Brown in a third, I like this for you because I like what Brown could potentially pop into in Dallas.
Yeah.
So again, we're trying to figure out what the sense is of going to get Gaines if you're Steelers. But again,
It's just a building block. I think he's trying to do the best he can this year in hopes of maybe a 7 seed. But like you guys were saying, is he a wild card team? Very fringe, but it definitely depends on how everything pans out for him.
Indeed, it does. All right, we're gonna have a little reset here because I feel like I've stumbled a lot of the block here in terms of hosting. So, getting the energy up, getting refocused here, in talking about what kind of he does next. So, as I mentioned, has probably 2 starting quarterbacks in Mac and Jameis. James Cook has been impressive, and all 6 of his receivers look like they have a path to relevancy. So it's a question of do you just kind of roll this and wait for one more year? Do you see what happens in the first 4 weeks and plan accordingly? Do you kind of go somewhere in the middle and see what happens? Or is it a get opportunistic and get one more year of draft capital before you kind of jump all in? RJ, how would you approach kind of the receiving core and some of the brighter spots of this team right now?
Steelers?
Yeah.
So I'm probably selling off. Do you just want do you just want like skill position?
I mean, so I think
Or-
I think the general consensus here is that because of the division they're in, it might not be the year to go for it, but there's some good pieces on this team that can either help them compete or help others compete. So if we're saying that, okay, it's got to be one more year, what are you moving in your one more year, and what are you trying to get back in that other than just draft capital?
You're probably just looking for younger players with somewhat of an opportunity towards relevancy. I think a lot of us have been in the league long enough to know that some of these like lesser drafted wide receivers, like eventually they can find routes to being starters or solid producers. It's happened quite a bit recently. So like those would be the type of players. Some running backs, younger running backs that might have a year or two to mature and actually like work their way onto a team. But that are still only 21, 22 years old. So they're still relatively young when they get that opportunity. The players that I'm getting rid of are like anybody that's 26 or older on this team. Not all of them. A lot of the defensive players will have longevity, but like an Eddie Jackson is somebody that I'm getting rid of. I'm basically going to name off Steelers trade bait because Steelers has a good idea of what he's doing. So like Eddie Jackson's a great person to move. Personally, I would try to move Greg Gaines, even though he just got him. I don't think you're going to get a third back, so I guess you're stuck with him at this point. Alan Lazard, I would probably move as much as like I don't like that. Just like from a personal standpoint, I wouldn't want to get rid of a wide receiver like that. But I think you do it while his value is peaking. Now I don't have the right answer of when that is, like whether it be right now while people are claiming that he's a future Hall of Famer, or in 3 weeks when he has 500 receiving yards and 7 touchdowns or something ridiculous like that. But like he's the ideal player that like you want to get rid of and like get something good for. Now with him, you're probably not looking for a guy that has a route to an opportunity. You're looking for somebody that team used real draft capital for. So maybe just a wide receiver Yeah, I would say wide receiver. I'd probably just look to get younger with Lazard. Find somebody that's 24 that's maybe like a tier or two below him that has opportunity to grow, or just a high round pick. I'm trying not to use the like typical cop out of like, oh yeah, just go get a first plus.
Yeah, I think I'll throw an example out there. I'd knock on Falcon's door and see if he wants Lazard for Josh Jacobs. Wants a receiver, needs to move guys who might need to get extended. Lazard has route to wide receiver 1 of Aaron Rodgers and is cost controlled at 9.5. So, again, he's probably going to get told no because Falcons Brett only really likes to negotiate deals where it's everyone's saying he's got the better side of it. Now that would be probably on the other side of that of, hey, production is overshadowing name, but that's the kind of deal I'd be looking for.
I do like that idea. So like if I'm Steelers, I'm probably doing that. If I'm taking an honest shot at the division, or not the division, but like a wild card opportunity, I can see doing something like that. Now, if you are looking to just go plan for the future, probably not taking that, just because Jacobs is almost out of his rookie contract already.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like that is ideally the type of value that you want.
That, and everybody knows that the Packers wide receiver 1 is Romeo Dobbs, so that means something.
No,
yeah, that's what Aaron Rodgers said today, right? He said lead guy has been Lazard with slot king Randall Cobb and Sammy Watkins with opportunity behind them. Did I not say Dobbs' name?
You did not.
Oops.
No. I mean, I like your concept. I don't think that Jacobs is the right person, but like he's got a shitload of cap space, so he could utilize that in a great way if he did want to go like a breakdown of a Lazard. Like
I would turn it into somebody like David Montgomery, who conveniently is on the same team.
Yeah. I mean,
somebody with a little bit more of the front office behind him.
Yeah, I mean, you could do that. I was thinking like the name that immediately came to me was Derrick Henry, just because of the contract, not because of the production. But he's also going to like diminish supposedly in actual stats. But I don't know. Just he needs another running back to pair up with James Cook.
Yep, and again, Henry makes good sense, but again, Lazard for Henry is probably not going to happen. So it's a question of what would he have to add on the back end of that. Whereas, I feel like Lazard gets you into the conversation with a Jacobs or a Montgomery. So,
and I feel like Lazard is just going to keep gaining in value as the season goes on. I think he's going to have more value at the deadline than he will now.
It depends on production. So, like, are you willing to take that risk? Like it's very possible that he's worth more.
Yeah.
But then it's also possible that he screws up his shoulder and he's out for the season, or he just has very ineffective numbers and the kid they drafted in the 7th round outproduces him.
Right. You never know.
Ah, geez. If I recall correctly, I think I took Alan Lazard in the 5th round a couple years back and let him go. So between Lazard and Mooney, both starting on my team and getting let go for pennies, I'm really living my wide receiver life over here. I can ID him, but I sure as hell can't keep him. Anyways, we've got a real expert here. Welcome to the show, Smootalk.
So guys,
just going through, finishing up with Steelers right now. I guess while we finish up there, I'll give you parting shots on him. Any thoughts about where he's going for this year?
The Steelers.
Yeah.
What did he do recently? Didn't he just
Greg Gaines? He acquired Greg Gaines for a 3rd.
And Noah Brown.
I actually like Noah Brown. I've actually been he's been on my taxi in a few leagues for quite some years. And I don't know. I always keep on. I guess I'm a truther. Like I'm one of those. I've always thought he was gonna break out and he was gonna take Gallup's job once he left.
Yeah,
But
he has those random weeks of production.
he made one catch like 4 years ago, and it's just like it's in my head that he can do that on a daily basis.
He has 6
yeah.
years of NFL experience, and he just
Yeah,
turned 25.
And it's crazy.
He has no touchdowns.
It's well, again, look at it's camp stuff, so handle with care. They said he was kind of the wide receiver 3 coming out of the camp. That basically the 3 guys who have emerged are Lamb, Tolbert, and Brown. Obviously, at some point, Gallup comes in there and does something, but he's right there in the wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4 in an offense that's going to throw for 4,500 yards or something like that. So, again, he's a good best ball kind of guy to have.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll go on and move on to the next team. Talking about should we talk about the Texans again? Sure, let's talk about the Texans again. So I know we did kind of the in-depth stuff last time as the welcome to the league. So looking at where Smooth Talk has his team now and what he should be doing with it. Again, I know we just kind of covered this in the previous podcast, so not to completely rehaul. I think the question of the day, and I think he said as much last time, is what the hell do you do with Deshaun Watson?
Just sitting.
What's the point of moving him right now?
Again, on a lot of my guys, like my rookies, Jordan, like these guys, I'm just right now. It's all news. It's nothing about what they've done, production on the field. It's just all news. So I think anything I do is selling short.
Right, it becomes a question. Again, and it's probably just posturing from other teams and other leagues, but people have been sending me Watson and offers, and I've been saying no, I don't want that, and they'll be asking for, hey, rookie draft picks this year. Let me get 5 and 6 from you this year for him. It's like, no.
Yeah.
But I recognize that if he was back and playing and through all the legal trouble, that's probably what it would take to get him. So I don't know if it's maybe just opportunistic or if people actually value him that way right now. But it seems like the market for him is turning a little bit, and I don't know if it's gotten anywhere back to where it was or is supposed to be, or if it's still depressed, waiting on the NFL to decide.
Well, news out of Cleveland is that something's coming this week.
Okay.
All of our beat reporters and sideline Aditi, she's the one that I follow the most. She's saying that she's the one that did the interview with Watson before the preseason game. They said everything should be coming out this week at some point, but who knows if it's going to be at a certain point of, okay, then now it's filing suit. So,
yeah, I mean, the thing that surprised me, I was talking to a buddy at SI, and he was very convinced that there was going to be an announcement last week before the first preseason game, because if he was going to be out for the year, they weren't going to let him play in the preseason. They were going to just say, you're out for the year, so go sit your butt down and figure this out. The fact they let him play a game definitely shed some doubt on is the NFL really going for a year? Is it going to go from 6 to 8, 6 to 12? It kind of says, okay, well, it's probably not going to be a year at this point, so what's it going to be? So
what we're hearing a lot is that with that first public apology of remorse, that's kind of building the narrative for the NFL. It's, hey, apologize publicly, show that you do have some heartfelt apologies for what this has caused internally, externally to the people. And that's going to make the NFL look better somehow.
It was as good of an apology as the fucking ownership statement was. It was total bullshit.
Yeah. Look, I mean, I might have said this when the news was coming out, but I think the apology still hasn't been done yet. It's
No,
um,
he's not.
it's
He's not sorry about anything.
well, again, whether he's sorry or not, this is not the apology yet. It's going to be a Fox News special or a Fox Sports special with Aaron Andrews or someone of that level interviewing him for an hour. That's going to show.
Nope. That would have been the Aditi thing right there. That's what they were saying. If he wanted to make this big public announcement of I'm sorry, it would have been at that interview right there.
Okay.
He doesn't think he did anything wrong. He's not sorry. He's just playing the card that he has to get a lesser sentence.
I know that. Everyone knows that.
Yeah,
yeah.
But that's why he's not. That's why nobody gives a shit about whatever he says. The NFL wants a year. The NFL wants indefinite, probably to try for 2 years, but they're going to have to accept whatever they do because they fucked themselves with their history.
100%.
Like they can't reappeal an appeal. Like whatever comes down this time, they have to just live with, and they're hoping for. My guess is they're hoping for 12. They want a year plus, but they're hoping for 12.
Yeah. Yep. But yeah, so back to my team. Just sitting on it, waiting for him to hit the field. Again, unless a crazy offer comes by that a team that's a young rebuilding team as well, who sees the hype or trying to buy semi low, because I'm not selling him for anything off $1. I mean, he's my prize commodity.
2 firsts.
Yeah.
No, I mean it's interesting because your team is clearly rebuilding, right? Like you're shooting for 101 against Lions and a couple other teams, obviously, but it'll be interesting to see what his suspension actually is, because if it's less than a year, you might have to make kind of a decision at the deadline to make sure you confirm the 101, because his points alone might take you out of it.
Yeah. Well, that plus his contract extension. I want to get that before.
You don't want to do that. Let somebody else take care of that if you're not keeping them.
So that's going to be the tough part here is per the bylaws, because he didn't play last year, and if he doesn't play this year, it goes to the last 8-game stretch, which is going to be a couple years ago when he was really just balling. So he's going to get extended at kind of a QB1 level.
Yep.
So I haven't done the math on him yet, I'll be honest, but it may be something you want to check on before going down that route.
Gotcha.
One of those fun parts of league play. So, all right. Any other thoughts on Texans or this? Like I said, I think we pretty well covered it last time. So, not to try and sell him short in a power ranks pod, but you feel pretty good about being in the spot.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think I'm going to get something. Watching Davis's film from, I was actually at the practice today, for the Browns, and then watching the tape on Davis from the preseason from practice last week. I just love the guy. Like, the dude is just a man child of on that line. Like he just stands out on that defensive line. So I can't wait for him to hit the field and really boost up his own value, because he's been the most popular asset that's been everybody wanting. But I can't sell for less than what I think he's going to end up being. So that's my hardest part is I had a lot of trade offers with combined pieces, and I want to sell individually.
Yeah.
So.
No, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. And again, the hype's only going to build. So, all right. So let's move on to the next of our maybe next year teams, the Jaguars, who, speaking of recent moves, actually, that's definitely what I want to talk about here, of a move they made yesterday. So obviously Falcons is in a fun position where he's got to move some of the cap he's going to have to extend next year, or he's going to be in a rough spot. So Falcons and Jags make a trade. Jags give up Ravens first next year and Emmanuel Sanders, get back Calvin Ridley. I don't know what your guys' feelings on Ridley are right now. I think this was $1.25 for Ridley.
It's one wide receiver that's going to put up 0 for another wide receiver that's going to put up 0.
Yeah,
and a first round pick next year.
it's basically Ridley for a first, which is fair.
Mhm.
I don't know where Ridley will land next year, but he'll be 28. He'll be 28 this year, so it's going to be interesting. I wonder if he goes back to Atlanta, or if he ends up getting dealt somewhere.
Again, I'm not a big fan.
I think he's done. I think he's done.
Yeah, that's my thought.
I think the NFL hates him more than they hate Watson.
Show
Which is
me.
such bullshit.
Show again. It is bullshit. But show me the receiver who took half a year off because of mental health issues, and then another year off because of gambling. Who lost a year and a half, came back, and was productive at age 28.
Josh Gordon, for different reasons, but he was gone for a year and a half. Went to the
Josh
Patriots.
He was high. He was high though.
So what?
He wasn't
So what?
productive when he came back, though. He was
wasn't
productive
productive.
before he left.
He went to the Patriots and killed it.
We have different definitions of killing it.
Okay, he's not Brown's Josh Gordon, but he was still legit for being out for 2 years.
But you don't trade a first for Patriots Josh Gordon. You trade a first for Browns Josh Gordon.
Well, okay, but you asked who'd been out and played well, and that was the answer.
But but here's the thing though. Look at all the assets the Falcons have though.
Yeah, I mean, Drake London basically was drafted to replace Ridley.
Well, I'm saying for the dynasty team, like the Falcons here,
He's-
they gave up. Like
Completely
it's
different
just
next
it's
year
a,
whenever
it's a
all this
genius.
That's it.
It was a great move, I think.
Yeah.
It is a great move. It keeps him viable for another cheap, valuable asset next year. Instead of-
Browns, what are you thinking?
I think that he got offered this deal and it was just like, okay, yeah, this is like I would have instantly clicked accept on this if I had offered it to you, but you offered it to me, so I'm going to just say, okay, yeah. I mean, he's essentially a $15 million a year liability until he actually shows that he's on the field, and there's a non-zero chance that he might retire in some way, shape, or form, or I'm a Calvin Ridley fan. I think he's a good player. Do I think that I would have offered him anywhere near a first for this? Absolutely not.
No.
And I don't think I'm alone in that. I could be wrong, but
No, you're not.
You're not alone.
I've been moving Ridley everywhere I have him at this point.
You take the best offer you can if you don't want him anymore, and you move on.
Mhm.
But he could be renegotiated. So that $15 million could easily be 9 or 10.
What did we just say about
you could have a $10 million liability
Of course.
versus
yeah.
a $15
his last 8
liability.
games? It's been
Like-
18 months. He's still going off those last 8 games. He's not going to be below wide receiver 40.
No. I don't know.
He's not going to go down to 10.
I don't know. What?
So was that a move the Jaguars made because of his cap years?
Probably not. Jags probably believes he's going to return.
Yeah, it's if he returns at Falcons Ridley at that, if he returns at Falcons Ridley, then Ravens first is a steal for him. But I think there are a couple of us who believe that that's low enough of a chance that risk weighting that takes that pick down to needing to be probably like a mid to Ravens second.
Yeah. I think it honestly just helps Falcons next year whenever the 5th years hit, because his team is going to be so different. He's if Kamara really doesn't get suspended this year and gets pushed to next year, he's going to legitimately push for a 3-peat. And then at that point, who gives a shit? Blow it up and redo the whole thing.
Yep. Yeah, it'll be really disappointing if we can't.
Speaking of cap years, and I should have brought this up when discussing my team, how important on the value of your team is that? Yeah, I know I know the max is 100 years, but where on the ranks of how you build your team is that something to pay attention to?
Depends on
Because
what
I'm
you
in a
process.
because I'm in a situation next year where I'm looking at doing the math. I need to clear 45 or like I think 40 years. If I plan on drafting all my guys next year, I have to clear 40 years.
You'll definitely consolidate your picks for sure.
Well, it's tough. Having Goose dubbed it my dance when I did it the 2 years I had to do it, where I had more picks than I had available space on my team. It was constantly having to put guys on taxis so I could draft guys, making sure I got them off within 24 hours after someone made a claim on them. It's a tough dance to move. It's one of those where you need to be kind of mindful to set yourself up for it. I'd say it's less of a manage to it and more of a be mindful of it.
It makes the deadlines fun. Like
Gotcha.
it really does. It adds more fun to it because at the end of the day, I mean, what you get stuck with a bunch of fifths. Do you care about them or do you want to push them out? Pack it two and push them out a year, like that kind of thing. Like you have all kinds of different ways to go about it, but your team is so young. I would just be focusing on building the draft.
How many picks do you have next year?
12 in the first 3 rounds.
So that's 50 some years right there.
Yeah.
It's 48.
All right.
And I think I only have like 40,000. I only have 90 years right now or something around that. So just doing that basic math, whatever it's going to end up being. I know I'm going to consolidate some, but still, even if
as of right now, after rollover, you'll have 40 years available.
Yeah, and don't forget that your years do decline every rollover period.
Yeah.
So
okay. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, though, like you have a bunch of twos. You could take the late ones, get an earlier two, and then there's a problem solved there. Take that 5, get into the first somehow, like whatever you want to do. There's all kinds of ways. People love to mix and match. Making deals is not hard here. It's just fun.
I just came out of last pod with I think someone said that you don't usually consolidate two twos or three twos for a 1. So after that, I was like, okay, how am I going to consolidate these?
It depends on where those twos are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, there's definitely a view in the league that early twos are worth more than a late 1.
Yeah.
Because of the renegotiation rules right now. So that's something to keep an eye on as well.
Yeah, sorry for that sidetrack. I know that we mentioned with the Jaguars and their cap and everything else, so just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, so again, they continue to try and build around the big names here. Mahomes, Ridley. They still have Higbee on a pretty attractive contract. Defense, you still got a couple of spots. I think he was saying he was looking for a first for Matt Judon. So definitely a number of pieces left to move.
That's an interesting one for him, Judon, because I mean, didn't he buy Preston Smith like recently?
I think so.
I think he sold Preston Smith.
No, he has Preston Smith
on his roster.
Oh, I'm sorry. Then okay, sorry.
Yeah, because he's been buying throughout the year. I wonder if he views this as a rebuild or not.
I think he needs one. He's got to need one more year.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he needs at least one, but I wonder if he views it as a rebuild, or just as like a do the best I can and make the most of it.
And again, I'm all for that mindset, but I don't see a path unless he breaks up Mahomes. I don't see a path.
Yeah,
I mean his division isn't great. He's got Titans, but other than Titans, if there are injuries within the Titans organization, he actually has a legitimate shot. Right.
Right. I mean, Bosa's got to get back to DN instead of outside linebacker to get the points that he needs there.
I mean, Bill's shaking his head, but you have Colts and Texans in there who both are
I genuinely think Titans could play half his roster and still take that division.
listen. Look at what happened to my team last year. I had about 40 guys on my IR at one point. I mean, so anything can happen.
He had
That's
a
actually an
play,
accurate statement. That's not an exaggeration.
he had a playoff team on IR.
Yeah.
I did. I really did. Unfortunately, but
Wait, I think we covered that at some point.
Yeah.
let me start your IR, and I think I'm making something else.
Yeah, I think it comes down to Titans and Colts, and then Jags at that point. But anything can happen.
Yeah,
If
this
Colts
could
is
be
in
our
the run-
Patriots this year. Javis could be doing high steps on the podcast, being like, "Yo, can't believe you guys doubted me like this."
Right.
yeah, I mean, if Colts has had any shot at the division in that year, then things have gone horribly wrong, right? Like,
I don't know. His team isn't terrible.
So I guess if you're thinking, let's see if I can get in the playoffs, I feel like the pieces that make the sense to move are Mechie and Watson if you can. Now you're not getting draft day value for them, but you're probably getting quite a pretty penny. Is that what you would do, or is it let's wait for the first week or two and then make my moves then?
Well, Mechie's out the whole year, right? So
No, he hasn't gone on IR yet, and
Yeah, but
and
they announced him out because of leukemia, like for the whole year.
I think there's a chance he might come back at the very end. You know how the NFL loves that storyline.
Okay,
There's-
well, let's say he's out until past the deadline. Let's at least do that.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. Yeah. For
Okay.
sure.
So let's say he gets to that point. I think that John Mechie is probably the best one value-wise to move, unless you can find a reason to move Christian Watson.
Which you don't want to do right now because his stock is lower than ever because of Dobbs.
And he's just not playing because he's hurt. But yeah, I think that Mechie is the name to move here. I think depending on how the season goes, Judon would be the next name to move because that extension is not going to be
You'd
fun.
move Mechie before Judon.
Well, just because of value. I think that if you find a rebuilding team, like not me personally, like I don't want John Mechie like myself, but like let's say Texans did, right? Take John Mechie, like you said, you're not going to get the 126 back for him. Ask for like 2 or 3 twos or something like that, and see what happens, right? But like you got to find a rebuilding team who doesn't care that he's not going to be on the field this whole season. That's my opinion. Judon goes to a contender, but are you going to be happy with the return that a contender offers you? Depends on the contender.
He's asking for a first. That first is by definition probably going to be late. So
It's still worth the move, in my opinion, for a guy that's what's he going to end up costing? Like a few million at least, right?
Who?
Judon.
No, you
no,
trade.
no he's price
you-
controlled.
Yeah, you trade extend him, and he won't play he'll never reach $1 million in his playing career
Yeah, he's price
in this
controlled.
league.
Well, there you go. Then I don't understand extensions very well. That's my fault.
there's a
But-
statement I could have made there. I'm not going to make it though, but you kind of lobbed it up.
No, it's fine. I think
don't-
I think about these cheap contracts. I'm like, oh, holdouts, and then I don't remember how hard it is to be a holdout. Like,
All right, so we're thinking Jags. The right way is if he's committed to kind of going forward for the first week or two, see what's going on, and then if things are going well, Mechie and Watson are the ones to move. If things are going poorly, looking at Bosa or Judon.
mhm.
I think Jags pushes the chips in, but that's just me.
I would not be surprised by anything that's happened because they were not the team I expected to go get
Calvin Ridley.
Patrick Mahomes from Bill, and there we are.
So, with a team like Jags, it's not unreasonable if you have. I mean, if Judon was probably 2 years younger, it's not unreasonable to just keep going all in every year for the next 3 years, and you will eventually accumulate a roster that's probably going to compete if all of those players stay as productive as they should be.
Sure.
I just don't know if that's the. I mean, that might be the right approach for that division, like just in a general sense, but I don't know if that's the play for this particular team. Because you think like spend a bunch of draft picks, buy like a stud wide receiver, and then like you've exhausted the majority of your valuable picks, and then next year do the same thing, and you know.
Yeah. I mean, he still has his first, which is good. But yeah, it's he's going to be one to watch to see what happens. Like
I'm just talking about because like Brown said, like he might be pushing all in, and like that's just like my comment. Well, if he's pushing all in 1 year, like it wouldn't be an unreasonable thought, like with this team construction, to maybe make a couple of trades to get younger, and then just keep pushing, like keep using your firsts to increase.
I agree with that, especially with like Kyron Williams,
Right.
like with those soft tissue issues that we're hearing about in Rams camp. They even said that he's going to manufacture his own targets out of the backfield. Like he's going to be a third down back. It looks like he might go get those snaps. So right there, I think that's a great best ball candidate right there on that roster.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
so like in theory, you take a couple of picks, you go out and you find your wide receiver. You don't get rid of Mechie. Then next year, when Mechie is going to play for the full year, hopefully, you get hopefully a Calvin Ridley back. Like, that's not, you might not make the playoffs. You may fall short this year, but like you are certainly taking steps if you continue to like use those picks to buy productive players.
Yeah. He just needs to be very careful of his contract and cap years.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like other things rather than just the generic like tear it down or
repetitive weekly banter.
Right.
No, and I do love the concept of if that first gets moved into something. Like if he put his first in a trade right now, especially for a rebuilder, that's something that people are going to snap accept. So I don't know if there's anything left on the carcass that was Bill's team to go get a first for, but I have a feeling that Bill would just kind of say, whatever you want.
Kinda. I mean, William Golston's available.
Bill might disagree, but that's okay.
But then, yeah, I mean, you go to the teams that are kind of clearly rebuilding and say, okay, what can I get? So is there something, say, again, probably not, but if he threw a first at Cowboys for Cam Akers or something, like, is that something that would be considered? Because of where that first is perceived.
I think you could get Akers and Henderson for a first.
So again, that gives him the running back he needs to solidify that offense and maybe be in the tens of teens range instead of say top 5. So again, I'm intrigued by that idea, I guess what I'm saying.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, are we at all concerned about Christian Watson, or would you guys do like a sell as soon as he shows a flash, or would you hold in hopes that he turns into the 36th overall pick?
No, when Lazard pops and then wants a bigger contract and Green Bay doesn't want to give it to him, then Watson just slots in as the Lazard / Adam / who's always been the X.
Yeah, Jordy Nelson.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking like, yeah, okay, so this year maybe Watson doesn't play as much due to injury or whatever, and then Cobb goes, and then you have Dobbs, Watson, and Lazard to finish out Rodgers' career, with probably AJ Dillon in the backfield. Because
well, I think Lazard goes probably in like a year or two. Like he probably gets paid somewhere else, and then it just becomes Watson, Dobbs, and Rodgers. Don't sleep on Rodgers. Like, pretty sure Rodgers is still Rodgers and Dobbs are like Dobbs is outplaying him, but like they still view them as kind of the same type of gadget player.
Oh, you're talking about Amari?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I have so much concern about him being like a oh god, who's the
Gadget kind of guy.
no the Jets receiver that busted.
Denzel Mims.
Yeah, I have so much concern that he's a Mims.
Although they're different kind of body types, but
Mhm.
I get it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah. I mean, I have a lot of concerns about Watson. Just, and not that I'm a homer by any means, but small school, athletic, but not necessarily productive. I'm more in team Dobbs at Dobbs' previous ADP than I was ever at Watson's previous ADP as well. I'd certainly, and I have taken Dobbs over Watson at every case I could. Now, granted, those have certainly diverged in the past couple of weeks, given Watson's injuries and Dobbs looking really good and everything. But at the same time, like I think Dobbs has a better chance of being a better wide receiver than Watson, given their ADPs. But that's
Sure.
hindsight.
Dobbs is more of what you would consider the typical. What is the successful wide receivers right now? Like 6'2", 200 pounds, good route running, sure-handed, a little bit of speed on them. Not the 6'5" end zone targets that like Watson and like a Mike Williams. Don't get me wrong, they succeed, but they're not always the wide receiver one.
right.
Yeah, and I don't think Dobbs is going to be like the wide receiver one there forever. But I think that he's got a better chance of being really good than Watson does. Just my own opinion. I know that Watson's super athletic and everything, but I've followed the super athletic, necessarily non-productive types for a while, and I'm still waiting for my Christian Michael shares to hit. So it's just that's not a thing for me anymore. I'd rather have Romeo Dobbs at his price, like I said previously, at draft ADP than I would at Watson draft ADP. So
Yeah.
Yep. With those big wide receivers, you get a lot of ones that flame out more than you get people that turn into Mike Williams or Mike Evans.
Sure.
Yeah. All right. Who's next, Mike?
All right, let's talk about the Lions.
Ooh. Four Green Bay wide receivers.
Right. This is
So
interesting.
yeah, it's I think the debut of Malik Willis in preseason went as well as Lions could have hoped. Still not exactly gaining a lot of camp luck in many of the other positions. Drake London's out probably for the next week or so here. Some good news here or there. I think Derek Wolfe retired, so this may be a team that's on abandonment watch for commissioners. But you got to like how some of the pieces have done so far. Clearly, at least a year away, but time to make some moves here to build out. I definitely want to try and take advantage of Donald Parham if I could.
Yeah.
And what he could pull in the current market.
Yeah. I hope he's not an abandoned owner, because didn't he just take over this year as well?
Middle of last year.
Okay. So
Or maybe beginning of last year.
Texans 2.0 here again. Let's not have that happen. Hope. But yeah, I think that his team is pretty set to, go into next year very nicely.
What team is that? Sorry about that.
The Lions. Because Tannehill should have this year, and the assumption is Willis takes over next year. So there's his quarterback, Drake London, Amari Rodgers, Josh Palmer. Depends on how you feel about Palmer and Rodgers, but Drake London's a solid play. Everybody, Tommy Tremble's living off of name, but he could sell that pretty easily, I think. And then
Parham's gonna have a great year.
I don't know. For as equally inactive as the Lions are, the person that would have bought Tremble is just as inactive. So the value on him might have died also.
But Parham is sitting behind Gerald Everett, but at least he's a backup right now instead of the third string. But yeah, I mean, overall, like I like his offense for the future. I think he needs to just work on building out his assets. Now, what does he have left draft wise? Oh, he has 3 firsts and 3 seconds next year. His own Bengals and Raiders. Yeah, he's set up nicely.
Mhm.
That's really good.
Sell off the guys that aren't rookies or second-year guys.
Yep.
And then
Find buyers, get thirds, do whatever you got to do.
I feel like he might not be as active as he needs to be.
I reach out every once in a while. He responds within a couple of days, but yeah, he's hit and miss.
Is Dontrell Hilliard still employed by the Titans? Sorry.
He might be an offensive assistant, but yes, he's still employed by the Titans, I think.
Okay.
I'm only kidding, but yeah, I mean, I reached out to Lions. I said, hey, do you have any interest in just very, very general feeler? I said, hey, do you have any interest in wide receiver or linebacker, just generally? And he said no. I'm like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, he's very short, sweet, and to the point.
To each their own. I get it. I feel like a lot of his deals, and I could be missing on the team here, but I feel like a lot of his deals are just people giving him players that they just wanted to jettison.
Yeah.
I could be wrong about that, but I feel like looking at some of his transactions, you just see it's like, Falcon, and I'm saying Falcons just because he's one of the better teams. Falcons gives up XYZ for nothing, so it's like he's just kind of taking contracts, and as a bad team, that's probably a good idea. But like I said, I think it would benefit him to be a little bit more active in the league. But to each their own. So he could be waiting for week 1, to each whatever. So
he could be waiting for next year.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, the last deal that he made was on June 20th. He gave up Pacheco and Loudermilk for Keyshawn Vaughn and Benson Mayowa and a 2 from the Jags.
Okay.
So
what was Pacheco taken at?
Pacheco was drafted at
probably 3rd or 4th, I got to think.
He was probably a 5th round pick.
Oh, really? I don't.
Yeah, so solid deal.
Yeah. Pacheco was 325.
Yeah, 3rd round pick. Yeah.
Yeah, solid profit.
Yeah, so good. Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with not being super active and just only biting on the deals that benefit you.
Right.
But I do agree with Browns. You this isn't a team where you can do that. You have to be a little bit more active. You have to search if you want to make the team better.
Yeah. Yeah. But overall, he's definitely building, clearly. But I'm going to really enjoy watching him because if Willis is the starting QB next year for Tennessee, he is going to build out that roster quite nicely. He could take Booty, he could take Smith and Jigba and pair up with London, and go from there, or take Bijan Robinson if he wants to and just go. But it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to watch him. I don't really know what he could do here because, like, outside of the big names, he doesn't have a lot of, like, hugely valuable assets. Like, he has a shitload of safeties. But, I don't know, Tremble, Parham, and the safeties, I guess.
I'd be trying to get rid of that Whitehead. I would definitely get rid of Whitehead.
Yeah.
Like, he's peak value right now, I feel. No, nobody wants that 5th round option on Abram.
Yeah. It's just he's got a ton of cap space, so like he could definitely do the whole like take the cap dumps. And
Gotta get rid of some players then.
yeah,
You are like, it's not an inviting team when they have a maxed out roster already. Like, nobody's gonna actively try to dump things to them because you
Right.
can't just send the offer.
right. It's
He's got 3 roster spots from for taxi. I mean, he hasn't used any of his taxi space.
Right.
But I mean, I get what you're saying.
I'm curious what he was thinking tagging Justin Jackson. Like I feel like that might have backfired on him.
Yeah. Well, he went to Detroit.
Right.
Like, when he was tagged, he was the backup to Eckler, which had a lot of value.
Yeah. I feel I don't know. I wonder what he's thinking here because his wide receivers have some name value, probably not enough to where he would want the return to be. But at the end of the day, though, like the majority of his team isn't going to get him the return that they were drafted at.
Right.
So, and he's just going to have to accept that one.
Yeah. What is it? Palmer probably lost value over the offseason.
Yeah.
Rodgers definitely lost value because of the draft. Tutu didn't get taller. Yeah.
Right. And Keyshawn Vaughn is basically being replaced right now. So like it's
by Rachaad White, who is I would say probably a more talented running back.
sure. It's interesting to look at this and see what he could do. Like I don't really know. Like
Trade
Yeah,
off the safeties for whatever you can get.
yeah, trade off your safeties, get like potential production down the line. Maybe I don't know.
Start your competing after that Peters contract runs out.
Yeah. Very wait and see. He might not be wait until next year. He might be wait until next year.
And a lot of this depends on whether Malik Willis develops into a quarterback that's a starter, which is not anywhere near a guarantee.
Right. But one game in the preseason.
He looked good. I mean, no matter who he was playing against, he looked good. You know,
Lots of guys look good in the preseason.
but if you can run around like that, that's not a bad thing. That's very helpful.
All right. If we're talking overreaction theater, enough's enough. Let's talk about the Broncos.
Oh yay!
Yummy.
Yeah.
So we ended our podcast last time thinking, all right.
This is it. We're done.
Bill's gonna
Go away. He's gonna go away now.
Bill just runs away.
Oh, I'm still good.
How can they-
that's Bill's the picks. Might take a
Yep.
couple years.
Yeah.
Wasn't the way we would have gone, but understood. So I give him credit. Out the door, looked like he was doing it. Moves gains for Brown and future third. Picks up a fifth to absorb Shaheen and Tonga. Gets a fifth for an Anthony Miller's contract for Kiki Kuti.
Yep.
Sells Jones for a third. He's building up draft capital. Gets the Cardinals first from Ravens.
Mhm.
Getting out of Shelby Harris and Buda Baker. It's getting draft capital. It's building it up. It's trading his future first for Romeo Dobbs.
Mike, you're so unhappy when I acquire players.
Yeah, it's,
Okay, look, Dobbs.
that's like saying that a school burned down, and God, Mike, you're just upset when we call the fire department.
Look, Dobbs is not going to do enough damage to my roster to where I'm going to be out of the running for any kind of top 5, 6 picks somewhere in there. I feel like my plan is totally fine. I don't know if Dobbs is going to be worth more or less or the same in about 6 weeks. I have no idea. All I know is it's a move. We'll see how it pans out. I'm willing to take the risk. Plan is in place. We'll see what happens. And we're just going to go from there. I can't tell you, Mike, because you're just going to make fun of me on the podcast. So I can't.
I'm going to stop because I tried to make a point and you're missing it. So I'm going to let one of the other folks on the podcast see if they can make the point of, gentlemen, why do you think I don't like this trade for Bill?
Because he gave up his first.
His 2024 first.
Mm-hmm.
Bill, your team is in absolute shambles right now, and you're tearing it down to the studs. Do you think you're going to have a relatively strong enough structure to not be a top 10 pick in 2 years?
I do, just like I do every other year. You guys forget how quickly I turned that team into a competitive roster when I joined up.
You sold everything.
That's not the point. The point is I had nothing and I built it. Like the point is that I'm not giving Seahawks a top 5 pick. I'm giving Seahawks what I plan to be between 12 and 20, somewhere in there. Like my team always falls into, unless I decide I have no patience and I have to rebuild it all.
Remember that thing I said before last week? The ego system. This is what I'm talking about. This is the ego system right now. Is that you're basing your future off of a whim, a complete. I don't know. I didn't think it made sense at all.
I will say this. I am the moves that I've made are definitely based off of what is most primarily known as hype, right? But it's also, you overpay today for what is hopefully an underpay tomorrow.
Don't take I told you that.
No, that's how I've looked at this though. It's like it really is like Pickens was like the prime example of that. Like it was definitely an overpay, but I mean Pickens is going to be a stud, and he's going to be worth more than I gave for him, within 2 years. So it's just one of those things. Like pay less than you would whenever you actually feel the prime. I guess I don't know.
It doesn't. I don't follow it. Like I see where you're going.
Yeah.
I see where you're going.
Yeah.
And then you do this,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just like, I don't. I guess that's a good strategy. I guess to keeping everybody kind of on their toes on what to expect.
Yeah,
and it's good. It's good entertainment. But it didn't make sense to me. Like I'm as a new guy over here, I'm trying to see trends and see like where teams are going.
You can't follow trends with me.
And
anything has been learned with that. I have no trends. I make very impulsive decisions, and it doesn't always work out or make sense. But I told Falcons this earlier because he was giving me shit about the deal. I told him I was like, I have a real problem with patience, and it leaves me as like always middle tier. Never like a winner, never a loser, just always like right in the middle, which is like where everybody hates to be. But I don't know. I'm still wrapping my head around the league as best I can. I'm 3 years in, and I'm still wrapping my head around this bitch. So it's just one of those things. I have faith.
I just think you did so well. I think with the Ravens getting a first for Harris and Buddha.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's like that was a great move. Like I was trying to do my own thing. I was like, how did he get that to go down?
It was offered to me.
That's awesome. Like that's a smash accept.
Yeah.
Especially with that first. I think Cardinals are the West leader, but there's a path where they don't win the West, and that is a pick in that range.
Yeah. And then you have Berrios on top of it, who hopefully garners something down the road, even at his salary. But yeah, it's just one of those things. Like I have faith in the players, and I also have faith in my ability to make this all pan out. Because if I know anything, it is that I am more determined than ever to make my team as good as I possibly can when I don't own my own first. And so it just kind of puts me in a position where I have no choice but to try harder than I would have if I had my own first.
Well, you torch the bridges, and look, the previous year, this last year's 101 has already moved his 23 first. So you're in the contention potentially for 101 next year, and you've also already moved your 24 first.
Mhm.
So maybe you're just ahead of the game.
I don't know. We'll find out. But at the
Or
same
who knows? Maybe tomorrow he'll sell 2 more pieces for a contender piece. I don't.
you
He's
never
going to
know.
give you 2 first for Watson.
Yeah, you never know. You never know.
Even Bill doesn't know. Yeah.
I mean, like, think about whenever I first got in the league, though, right? Like, my first trade was with Mike. I gave up like 2 firsts for the 101 when it was Joe Burrow's rookie year, fully intending to not draft Joe Burrow and deal the 101, and I still feel like I didn't get, the same return that I gave up to get it. I don't know. I haven't looked back on it a whole lot, but it's just one of those things. I've done things a little differently than probably expected.
Yep. And again, I think that's one of the things that we're at about an hour, so a little over an hour, so we're not going to jump into this time, but definitely wanted to kind of pull the string back in one of those evergreen episodes of different types of rebuilds. There's the tear it all to the studs and take it back up over a couple of years. I've done that. There's the faster reset that I'd say RJ and Ravens and others have done. Basically taking a look at the teams who have had to kind of shift and rebuild in this league. What's worked, what hasn't worked, stuff like that. So I think that's going to be a good evergreen episode at one point when we have some time to prepare beforehand. But that's not going to be this one. Want to get off this while we still have some energy to try and make some things happen. But got through 5. So that's between 4 and 8. So we'll call that a win. And we'll continue working through this next podcast. So thanks everyone for joining, those who stuck through the entire thing. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, we'll come back in probably a couple of weeks here and really get into this. But good luck, good trading, and please don't trade your future first if you're rebuilding.